Spoke's command block. In Spoke's first Unstable SMP video, he found something that shouldn't exist. A full set of diamond armor with all 4 protection entrants stacked on each piece at once. That single mistake at a zombie farm led him straight to Yamato P, and Yamato showed him an underground vault full of old Minecraft glitches that were never supposed to work together, or even work at all anymore on a normal server. The command block is the clearest item on this entire list, because it's a creative mode only item, something that should be completely impossible for a survival player to ever hold, let alone use to control parts of the world around them. Spoke built it himself near the end of that first video, after Yamato had already walked away from the whole plan, and getting it to work without help was so hard that Spoke ended up stumbling onto a brand new glitch nobody had ever seen before, just trying to make it function. He didn't even fully understand what he had built at first, he just knew it proved something massive, that the server itself was breakable in ways nobody thought possible. Keep that command block in mind because it's the one item that proves Spoke was always willing to go further than the person who actually showed him these exploits in the first place. Right behind it is one of the strangest mysteries on the whole server, the gold block found deep in the underworld. This isn't just an illegal item, it's tied to an enormous amount of lag, strange theories about resurrection, and even a direct tease from Weefys himself about what it might mean. And here's a fun piece of trivia that most viewers don't actually know. When someone in Weefy's own Discord server asked him if he'd ever return to Unstable SMP, he replied by asking if they'd seen the end of Wembu's latest video, the one about the underworld. That's not a confirmation, but it's about as close as Weefy's has ever come to teasing something, and it ties directly back to this gold block. Nobody has fully explained what this block actually does or why it exists, which makes it the biggest unanswered question out of everything on this list, even bigger than the exploits Spoke and Yamato built together. Until more lore drops, this one stays a genuine mystery, and that mystery alone is part of why theories about Weefys coming back just won't go away. Then there's Yamato P's enchanted totem, and this one breaks one of the most basic rules in the entire game. A Totem of Undying isn't supposed to hold enchantments at all, that's just not how the item works in vanilla survival, but it showed up in Spoke's most recent video, the Totem of Null. Enchanted because of vanishing, if it activates the entire Null team dies, which just goes to show how much power Yamato really had before Spoke took it all away. Next are the stacked totems, which came from a different glitch Yamato showed Spoke, dropping a totem on the ground and using an auto clicker on the recipe book to slowly turn one totem into a full stack. This single trick handed Spoke 85 totems of Undying at once, and he used that stack to literally tank multiple crit hits from Yamato just to prove it actually worked. 85 totems completely breaks the risk system the entire game is built around, since death is supposed to mean something on this server. That's the whole reason fights actually matter to begin with. Spoke didn't even keep them for long, he accidentally unstacked them later while swapping armor, but for a moment he was basically unkillable, immune to anything Yamato could throw at him. Squiddo's spliced nether portal might be the strangest accident in the whole story. While Spoke and Yamato P were testing their chunk suppressor underneath one of the wonders, the server crashed, and when everyone rejoined, Squiddo found a portal that had been physically cut in half. Even Spoke and Yamato, the two most knowledgeable exploiters on the entire server, couldn't explain how it happened, and that confusion is honestly part of what makes the moment so unsettling. Spoke lied to her on the spot, telling her it was just lag, then broke the portal completely so nobody would ask more questions. Remember that chunk suppressor, because it ends up being the real source of this mystery, and we'll come back to exactly why in a moment. But before we keep going, I want to ask you to subscribe, because this video takes hours of research, and subscribing would genuinely help a ton. Also consider hyping the video since it's literally free. Ashrak's fishing rod. Now Ash's fishing rod looks almost harmless compared to everything else here, but it might be the deadliest item on this entire list. Ashtag used it as a stasis trigger, a quiet way to teleport himself to safety the moment things got dangerous, never having to actually risk dying in a real fight. But it connects to something much bigger, the master stasis system tied to the entire mafia, where Ashtag claimed that if he ever died, every single mafia member would die with him too, including the innocent players who never even chose to join in the first place. One fishing rod, one simple trigger, and the power to end hundreds of thousands of lives at once, just by getting hit hard enough one time. The Totem Teleport exploit, also known as the Quantum Entangle Totem, is exactly why Null Hunters are basically unkillable. Popping this totem doesn't just save the player from death like a normal totem would, it actually teleports them somewhere else entirely the moment it activates, putting real distance between them and whoever just landed the hit. This is a real shadow item duplication mechanic, and it's a huge part of why fighting a Null Hunter feels pointless, because even landing the killing blow doesn't actually finish the fight, it just resets it somewhere else. The Chunk Suppressor is the machine sitting underneath most of the duplication exploits on the entire list. Spoke and Jamato built it together under the Pyramid of Anubis to test update suppression, and it's the direct reason Squidow's portal got spliced in half in the first place. Jamato even admitted afterward that the suppressor wasn't behaving normally. It was working in a way that had never happened before on any server, in any version of the game either of them had ever played. That single sentence is probably one of the creepiest lines in the whole story, because it means even the two people who built the thing didn't fully understand what they had created, and that uncertainty never really went away. The mob duplication chamber takes things even further, placing mobs partially in the end and partially in the overworld at the exact same time. Because part of the mob technically existed in the end, Spoke could pull the same entity across dimensions over and over, duplicating it each time without it ever fully existing in just one place. He tested this with a named skeleton holding wooden swords from the recipe book glitch, and after relogging it created the exact same weaponless skeleton sitting in Jamato's exploit vault. It is a strange, almost funny sounding glitch, but it proves how deep this duplication system really went, far past anything else either of them planned for at the start. The legal redstone trim netherite set might be the single most dangerous item Jamato has ever handed over. This armor uses a trim and material combination that isn't even possible through normal smithing templates, meaning it physically should not be craftable in survival at all, no matter how much time or resources a player has. Jamato gave it to Spoke straight off an armor stand inside the exploit vault, and Spoke wore it constantly after that, lying to Wemmbu more than once about where it actually came from. That lie didn't hold forever, and it's a big part of why Wemmbu stopped trusting Spoke completely, eventually fighting him over that very same armor. Orbital strikes, or the orbital strike cannon, are probably the most familiar item on this whole list, since most viewers have already seen it used constantly throughout the story. Wemmbu built it back on the previous server before bringing the design to Unstable SMP, and the first time Spoke saw it fire, it was just a quiet demonstration on an empty field, vaporizing the entire area in seconds without warning. Since then, it's been used to destroy bases, statues, and even entire empires, becoming one of the most reliable threats Wemmbu has at its disposal. It's less of a shocking reveal at this point and more of a reminder of how much raw destruction one weapon can carry, even without relying on a simple glitch. The maze stash out in the Farlands is a smaller story, but the number alone says a lot. 317 mazes, found stockpiled in one place. Mazes themselves are completely legal items, nothing about owning one breaks any rule, but finding over 300 of them together means somebody was preparing for something on a massive scale, far beyond what any normal player would ever need. It's less of a true exploit and more of a that's a lot moment, but it still tells you something is happening out in the Farlands that most players have no idea about, and probably won't until more videos come out. Finally, there's the Alt chestplate, probably the most well-known item on this entire list, since most viewers already recognize it as Spoke's signature piece of gear. It survived 2 full years, carried through fights, raids, and seasons of chaos, until Mapek finally destroyed it during the final confrontation in the Farlands. By that point, it wasn't really shocking anymore. It played more like nostalgia than a true review, since everyone already knew its story and had watched it survive everything thrown at it before. But its destruction still meant something. It was the lost physical piece of Spoke's exploiter gear, and once it broke, that whole chapter of the story broke with it too. So what actually connects every item on this list? It all traces back to two people who found something broken and just couldn't stop pulling the thread. The command block, the chunk suppressor, the redstone trimmed armor, even Ashlag's fishing rod in its own way. All of it exists because somebody decided the rules of the server weren't actually fixed. And once that idea took hold, neither of them could let it go. If you enjoyed this video, you loved the video on screen. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one.